Hello and welcome to my first video about creating odd, strange, surreal, weird, funny, stylized art. Today I'm going to show you how I go from a blank piece of paper to a stylized drawing to a finished acrylic painting, all in the space of the day that I did it. If you got any questions or comments or you enjoyed it, give the video a like, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll do some more. Okay, hope you enjoy. Cheers. Okay, so where to begin with a drawing of a battered cod? So I start off with a very basic shape. I don't go straight into detail or anything like that. I'm just trying to get a sense of movement. So I think where a lot of people go wrong with character work, they do people straight up and down, even though this is a very, very stylized drawing. I still want a sense of movement and life to them. So the bent legs, the curved spine, lots of movement happening in a still image. That's what I'm shooting for. I find drawing incredibly relaxing, quite freeing. So I kind of, you'll see the way that I draw is I sort of focus on a little bit for a little while, and then I'll move on to another part. And I'll work my way around the drawing, primarily to begin with just with the figure. And I just try and work out little details. So I knew early on I wanted him to be one of those guys. He's finished work on a Friday night and he's out for a good time, and perhaps this is close to the end of the night, and he's kind of realizing he's had a bit too much. He's battered, so to speak. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm going there with that. So with his clothing and everything like that. You'll also notice that I don't really worry about tone to begin with. It's only when I've got a certain amount, like here when I'm doing the trousers, that I start to work in a little bit of tone. And the inside of the mouth. Again, still just building those details up a little bit. Obviously this is speeded up quite a bit. But in total, I think this drawing took around 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. I had a rough idea of what I was trying to achieve to begin with, and once I'd got that basic shape down, I was quite happy to sort of noodle along with my pencil there. You'll also notice that I tend to use a mechanical pencil, largely because I don't have to constantly keep sharpening a pencil and things like that. I am quite heavy-handed with my drawing. So if I'm using conventional pencil, it's sharpen. The other thing I don't tend to do so much in my drawing is rub stuff out. I mean, you probably saw me rub something out at the start. But really, if I make a little mistake, which, I have made a couple of little mistakes in this drawing, I tend to just draw over the top of it and carry on and make it a part of the drawing. Quite often this leads to interesting things that you wouldn't necessarily come across, so I don't get too worried about making mistakes. I just accept they're going to happen and incorporate it into part of the artwork. Just working on the shirt there. Roughly put in where that other hand is, and he's holding the bottle. And again, I'm not going for realism here. I go for believability, which I'll talk more about when we get to painting this thing. Not that I'm against realism in any kind of way. A lot of realist painters I really admire, but for this, it's more stylized. And there's the finished drawing. So I've transferred that onto a piece of MDF, which I've primed with gesso. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comments and I'll do a video on it. I've painted the whole thing with a burnt sienna. This has two purposes. It's one, so I can start establishing the values. This isn't the drawing I'm working over the top of. I've transferred the drawing to the MDF. And like I said, I'm establishing the values. I'm quite rough with this. I'm not neat because I know I'm going to paint over the top of it. Just a rough guide for me. It also helps establish the temperature of the piece. I decided quite early on this was going to be at sunset. So I wanted it to be a very warm painting, so that's why I've got my burnt sienna. Sometimes I use blue, or even pink sometimes, or even a yellow, a brownish yellow sometimes, but this time was this. So I start establishing the background, building up the sky and the water while I've still got those colours on my palette. You know, I'm just trying to fill in the gaps. I don't have to worry about the paint seeping through because, like I said, I gessoed the board to begin with, and the layer of burnt sienna sort of helps with that as well. I paint, apart from the initial layers of building up the values with the burnt sienna, I paint opaquely, which means I paint with the paint really thick. I don't water it down at all, so you see those clouds are really thick, and every now and again I'll go in with my finger and just sort of noodle them around a little bit. I really love painterly paintings, so it's something I aspire to with my work. And I talked a little bit before in the drawing about making a piece realistic versus stylized a little bit, and I tend to work in a fairly stylized way, which gives it a kind of humorous, odd, slightly creepy feel, which I kind of like in the work. But you know, what I shoot for is believability, you know, so if somebody looks at this painting and they can see essentially a fish in a shirt and tie having a drink while he's walking through the sea, then that's me, you know. That's my first goal, is to communicate that idea. And if that idea fails, then I've I feel I've failed in that particular piece of work. But you know, I'll let you decide that. Like I said, the drawing was maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. The painting was an afternoon, so I think I started it at lunchtime, and I finished around 4:30ish, so about 4.5, 5 hours maybe on this, which is, you know, somewhere around what I'd spend on most pieces of this size. It's not a huge painting, single figure. You'll see that I've painted that shirt there. Obviously, again, this is speeded up substantially, but I love painting cloth and shirts, and I love making them kind of wrinkly, and I like the idea that nobody in the worlds of my paintings owns an iron, so I think little things like that, you know. So yeah, this is a weird painting, to be fair. It is of a drunk fish in a shirt and tie. I enjoy painting strange things. I enjoy puns and trying to find things like that. I also enjoy exploring thoughts and weird ideas, which, you know, I will hopefully do some more of in some more videos. If you guys, you good folks out there, enjoy this kind of thing, that's definitely something I'd be happy to show you. I'd also say this isn't a conventional painting in the way that I would normally do things. I wouldn't normally use quite so much tape on it, but the reason I recorded this painting was because I had a client who well, I haven't actually done it yet, but they want the painting process recorded, and I wasn't sure if I could do it. So I'd already recorded the drawing for somebody else, so I thought, well, I'll turn this into a painting, but I'll see if I can set it up and see if we can do that. I am also rather short of material, so I used a bit of scrap MDF that I had lying around, so it's not quite the right size for the painting. So normally I would work with much less of a border on it. But you know, it was a good exercise, and you know, I'm quite happy with the painting at the end of the day. And so yeah, there we go. I'll let you carry on and watch. The other thing about my paintings is they kind of look rubbish until they're almost done, and it's only really when I start adding the highlights, and you can see how I've built this up in layers a little bit, which tends to be my preferred method of painting, you know. And I actually decided to leave the labels on the bottle with the, you know, the underpainting showing through. I also painted over a lot of the other bottles in there because I realised when I put the ripples in, it would get a little bit busy down there, and it's already, for a single person painting, it's quite busy anyway, but I kind of like that. I just thought the other bottles would be a bit too much, so adding a little bit of rim light where the light's bouncing off the water onto them a little bit, and sort of brings them to life a little bit more. Sure I get his little tentacly beard there as well. And there's the finished piece. Quite happy with that. All good. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, and so there you have it. Here's the finished painting right here, all done. Only thing left now is to frame it up and use it for an exhibition somewhere. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do like it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if there's anything you want me to go over in my process, please add a comment and I'll do my best to answer it for you. All right, cheers folks, see you later.